Welcome to the Monday Night Coaches Show. Coach Brad LaPlante. I'm Todd Robinson, voice of the Hippos. Ryan Robinson, he does the color commentating during our games on Fridays, and we have special guest Zane Bolding we'll talk to here in just a little bit. But we do this every Monday night live from Rio Grande Restaurant here in Hutto. We appreciate a lot of folks that watch us on the live stream. We usually have a little bit bigger crowd. I think the time change kind of has thrown everybody off.
Feels like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I
it?
think everybody got out of work and they're like, it's kind of dark. I better get home. And, you know, we don't have the folks here that we normally do.
Yeah, it's usually 4,000 here. There's only about 860 tonight, huh?
Yeah, had to cut back a little bit. Now, we know a lot of folks that are watching, though, and we appreciate that. Well, and again, the Coaches Show every Monday night sponsored by Fingerprint Ideas. We appreciate Drew Hargrove, all that he does for us. So our special guests tonight are Zane Bolding, senior linebacker for the Hippos, and later on we'll also have Dr. Robert Sermani, one of our associate superintendents, talk to us. It's not all athletics. We want to talk academics too, right?
The whole package,
That's
Hippo
right.
Nation, baby.
Well, Saturday was a great day. We first of all, it was just a great day. That was a beautiful day for football. Can you just order every football game to be that kind of weather as opposed to last Friday night when it was freezing, wind blowing? That was football day on Saturday.
It was good. Light little breeze, warm sun,
sunshine,
high sky.
If you could play, if you had your choice of playing, obviously Friday night football in Texas is a big deal. But if we could somehow morph that Friday nights into Saturday noon football, would you choose Saturday noon over Friday nights?
I wouldn't for the overall experience. There's nothing like our stadium being crowded. And now, for me, I'd rather play about 8 a.m. That's my best time of the day, 6 to 8 a.m.
Because at 8 a.m., you've already been awake for 4 hours.
It's the best time of the day.
I agree.
I mean, you're energetic. People are feeling good. I mean, if they'd show up at 6 a.m., those lights work.
That's true.
Let's get it. Zane likes it. That's where practice time is.
Yeah, we might have a home field or definite advantage if we could convince everybody to play that early.
No, Friday nights in Texas, you can't beat it.
No, but it is every once in a while nice to have that Saturday sunshiny game.
Well, we plan on making the playoffs, and we may get a noon Saturday game or 2 or 4. So
we have had many day games in playoffs. Well, the Hippos beat Stony Point Saturday, noon 29-9. Nice game, just good all-around game. We'll talk about it. Upcoming game, Vista Ridge, Friday night. It's our annual Freedom Game. We normally do the Freedom Game as the first game of the year, but obviously there's no normal this football season with COVID. And so we were able to push that Freedom Game back to this Friday because it's going to coincide with our annual Veterans Day celebration. So that'll be perfect to do that. But Hippos find themselves right there, after 3 district games. Now 2-1 in district play, 3-2 overall. Find themselves kind of right there in the middle of things for that playoff hunt, and every game is important from here on out. As there begins to be a little bit of separation. You've got Vandergrift and Vista Ridge sitting with 3 wins each in district, then you got a couple of us that are at 2, I think, and then a couple with none. But it's all going to shake out over the next few weeks, and we'll start this Friday night, and we'll talk about that game a little bit later on. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Stony Point game. First of all, obviously, I guess one of the big things that we have to talk about was just the stellar play of freshman quarterback Will Hammond. And, Grayson was unavailable on Saturday, and certainly, you throw a freshman out there in his very first varsity football game. Like, hadn't even been on I don't think had he even suited up for a football game prior to that? For varsity, he had suited up. But step on the field, first play, completes a pass. Second play, completes a touchdown pass. Kind of a nice start to a high school career.
Good storybook script there, huh?
Really can't get any better other than unless it's a touchdown pass on the first play.
That's right.
Right? So the second one.
And that just goes to show that's why our program puts time into the middle school playbook and HYFCA so somebody can step in maybe earlier if needed. But you don't just step in. That's a good credit to Will and the type of guy that he is. And even though, a couple of weeks ago when he started practicing with the varsity, that was for later on down the road or injury or, whatever comes up with a varsity team. COVID, your one injury away or one COVID away from getting some playing time for all kids on all levels this year. We did that for preparation, and thank God that we did because he came in and, he'd already seen, a Landon rush him and a Braylon Sugg rush him and varsity guys action in front of him, which, everybody knows, Zane included, that it's a little bit different on Friday night or Saturday afternoon varsity football compared to even good freshman ball. So hats off to him for preparation.
Game moves a little bit faster, and the guys are just a little bit bigger, right?
Well, it is. And, we kind of told, our team, nobody had to be a Superman. We just need to do our job. And, I thought there were so many, people, we had been a 3-front team. We were a 4-front team last week. So we had asked starters to go to a different position. We asked a Jalen Parkinson to come in and start that has not started. We asked Will to come in and start that has not. We got Jalen Banks, and now we've got the 1-2 punch of him and Kyron Miller. We had, our 5th different offensive line starting unit, and changes throughout the course of the game to do that. So everybody just stepped up and did their job and, played with a little bit more enthusiasm and fire. And, of course, it helps when you get a good start and confidence around the people that you surround yourself with. But it was nice to see Will have a great game too.
I know there are a lot of folks that have followed the program, obviously, that and people were asking me, what about Brody? Why wasn't Brody playing? But I said, you know what? 6A football, it's hard to go both ways. And Brody is there's a need for Brody on that defensive side, and when you've got somebody like Will that you trust that you can throw in there, then that kind of makes that decision a little bit easier. But you were able to mix in Brody a few times in a couple of different series just to get him some playing time too. And I actually was having a conversation with somebody earlier today, and I said, here's the great thing. Going forward, every team we play, they can't game plan for just one quarterback or just 2 quarterbacks. They have to game plan for 3 quarterbacks.
Right.
And that really kind of creates a little bit of a distraction,
No,
a little bit of time on their part.
Everybody has different talents and things that they bring to the table. And, the whole plan going into this week, even though, yes, we did start somebody different, it really wasn't a starter because they're both going to get playing time and both had, different play packages that, they do to their strengths. But it was just our base personnel and our base offensive system that was going to win this game because the guys were playing with such confidence. So it really didn't matter who was back there. We thought we were going to be successful. And, of course, when you have guys like Jay Lambert making awesome catches at the Z side receiver and, Sean Davis over there at the X side, that certainly helps out your quarterbacks along the road.
Well, that's one thing we noticed is how much the receivers stepped up on Saturday and helped Will out. And, I had some conversations with some guys during the week even, talking about that and telling them things that need to be fixed from an outsider's point of view, and it really seemed like the receiving corps stepped up on Saturday.
I'm sure this was in the hallway, not when you were supposed to be teaching the youth of America, right? No, I know you're great in the hallway with all of our sports kids there, but no, that was good that from outside our walls of the locker room that they were showing that same thing. And we've seen that since day one this year. When Labor Day hit and we've put on the pads, and Zane can attest to that, we've been a confident team. We just haven't started and haven't played the way that we're so capable of. And you've never seen, the coaching staff freak out. We're going to get there. It's going to be time. Of course, maybe it did help being a day game, not the Friday night lights on some of that too.
I actually brought that up during the game. I said, and it was just my theory, but now it's mine and your theory, how different is that at times? For receivers, you're seeing a ball bright daylight versus nighttime. The lights, things just look a little bit differently. Right. And even sometimes you can lose a ball in the lights or whatever. It's just, depth perception can change, especially as we get old. You know how our eyes are. These guys are still young. But no, I think it does make a difference.
It does, because during fall camp, so, we're a morning practice team. But generally when I've been an afternoon practice team, you'll take a Wednesday night and have an under-the-lights practice. Whether it's been college or high school, you do that to get used to catching kickoffs, catching punts, see the ball in the air, throw the ball, because it is different. Well, we kind of talked and laughingly joked during the course of the week where we practice under the lights in the morning. Now we're going to a full daylight game.
Right.
What was it going to do for our guys? But obviously they adjusted just fine.
Well, and even the way that our lights are over at Hutto Memorial Stadium, when we put those new lights in a couple of years ago, we used to have those lights that lit up the sky that you could see from downtown Austin just about, right? But now those lights are so intense, concentrated down on the field, that if you look up, you're looking into at times you're looking into a black sky, right? So, I think it makes a big difference. And, but I also think the confidence of getting off to a great start makes a big difference too, and it just creates a mindset early on. Go ahead.
What about the communication factor? Because another thing we noticed also was that there were not a lot of miscommunicated routes. Was that a fact of simplifying, like not as many option routes, not as many things to look at, and it was more black and white?
Honestly, we toned down our playbook just a little bit.
Yeah.
You saw Jones go from a Z outside receiver to a Y slot. And no different than defense. We're going to go with what the matchups are. Yeah. It's out. Especially when you get down to the playoffs, there's going to be that one or two matchup with the game within the game that's going to make a big difference with that. So, we had texted some guys last Saturday. We're going to make a couple switches to enhance the good things that you do and take advantage of what you can give us in the matchup. And they relished that and did a good job with it, and it showed.
It looked enhanced.
It showed.
It looked enhanced.
I like it.
Hey, so going into the game, you got a game plan, and I know there's two different theories on this. And again, talking about Will as a freshman quarterback playing his first varsity football game. Some would probably have that philosophy of, hey, we're going to hand off the ball a couple of times, let him kind of ease into it and get a feel for things. You guys throwing right off the bat. Was that a kind of one of those deals, hey, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, we trust him and we're going to throw, that's our game plan? Or is it, might as well, that's what we do, throw the ball and let's see what he's got?
Well, that's what we do in practice every day. I mean, we do the routes on air. We do the 7-on-7. We do all those things that it's not like we're a power I team running 70 or 80% of the time and we just happen to throw the ball that play. But, I mean, if we're going to do it, we need to do it the first series.
Sure.
It's no different than, okay, do you start a sophomore or a freshman? Well, it really doesn't matter who it is, or the grade level. It's who that person is and what they bring with their strengths to the table. So wholeheartedly, Brody, we believe in him. Wholeheartedly, we believe in Will when we get Grayson back. It'd be great to have those options. But as far as the play calls, it's what they're going to give to us. But all our quarterbacks, the plays that you saw on the weekend, those are plays that all of our quarterbacks can run at every level. And it starts at 7th and 8th grade. A couple of those, plays that you see, the 8th graders are running them right now. They're just good basic spread football plays.
And we can talk about, those are the things we do and all that. But one of the things you can't simulate your first time, your first snap, your first game as a varsity quarterback, right? But I just want to take a little bit of time and talk about, again, from our press box view, calling the game, his poise and just staying in a pocket, not panicking. Ryan mentioned a couple times during the game just kind of working through his progressions. And, I mean, there's a couple times Ryan's like, man, I think that was probably his fourth receiver that he found as he worked through progressions.
Number one, let's start with the offensive line.
Absolutely.
Because there were times it was 4.2, 4.7, 5.1, that if they can keep a body on a body, that allows the quarterback to keep the eyes down. But obviously you can see that Will has worked on his craft. This isn't his first time where he's worked shuffle steps up and getting to his third step and getting the ball out on time, or checking down to a running back when it's appropriate as they're high walling and getting deep at back or depth. So, what do? You always revert back to your training. And so let's not throw it into a crowd. Let's check it down and do a good job. And, of course, again, I'm going to go back to practice. It's not just practice. It's preparation for the show. So, I don't know how many times Zane has heard, get your mental reps. You're going to be the next one. You've got to be watching. You've got to know the signal. You have to know what your position is doing, even in film session. Picture them grading you. What are they complimenting you on for all the awesome things that you're doing? What are the small corrections that they're doing? Envision it being you, so when it's your time, you shine, and you're not standing there wondering what happened.
So this week at practice, or Is he going to work on sliding a little bit and a little less contact, a little less running into those big defenders?
You don't like a linebacker behind center? Huh? He's got to keep up with Brody.
Sometimes when that quarterback takes off running, we're like, get down, get down.
Well, but so when do injuries happen? When people go half speed,
True.
or they're screwing around. Not when it's full bore adrenaline, but yes, let's not take a hit next time. You're right. You're right.
Hey, but if Will keeps running like that, I'll follow him anywhere, though.
Yeah, right?
Well,
I love it when he plays like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah.
So he said he probably earned a lot of respect with those hits. So
Well, and he already did before the game. That's the thing that, and again, why our sidelines were so calm when we asked so many people to do so many things is that confidence that, hey, we show that to each other every single day in practice, that they believe in each other. So I'm just glad that what we did in practice showed out in the game.
Sure.
Because how many times this year, okay, we had a great week of practice, but this didn't happen. You know,
right,
a couple
right.
times it happened in 2 different games. So to see all of our team's hard work, to do their job, to communicate, to line up right, play fast, play physical, do what we do, come to fruition there. When we, they could have decided, here we go, freshman at quarterback.
Sure.
Here we go. Well, here we go, defense. We got to step up. We got to play. It's way okay.
Yeah. Well, and you and I were texting after the game, and that's one of the things you said is the whole team got behind, and so that was a good team win.
Yes.
How nice was it to have J.J. Banks back?
He's a difference maker.
Yeah.
He is. It's a nice 1-2 punch between his style and Kyron's. They both do some things really well that are similar. They do things very well that are worlds apart. So just to be able to have some of those options and rotate some guys in and make the defensive coordinator think about what we might do with him.
It's just another thing they have to consider.
No,
now,
you're right. And Kyron and JJ, they may not even realize the impact that they have on the other positions, getting them open, throwing the ball.
Well, and we all got a taste of what Banks could do in that College Station game, right? Before he went out. So, I think to have that back and like you said, that's just another weapon and a guy that if you can get him the ball in space, that he can do things, special things like a lot of our receivers can. And, it's just we're only – it feels like – we should be just about at the end of the season and starting to get ready for playoffs, because normally this time of year we are.
Yes, sir.
We're only 5 games in, we got a lot of football still to play before we get to the playoffs, and it's fun to watch this team get better and better, because that's what you want, right?
It is. The work they're putting in each day is definitely paying off. And, even JJ, he wasn't at his best on Saturday. He kind of had to take himself out. And, of course, the coaches on the headset, is he hurt? What did he do? Because he was just kind of slow going there. Well, he's just not in game shape yet. That's not his fault coming back from an injury. He's going to work on into that. So, I didn't see him on the bleachers at 5:30 this morning. Did you see him out there?
No, I didn't.
We'll call him out tomorrow at practice.
Oh,
for that.
Zane, that was your chance to cover for him. Coach, I think I saw him.
Hey, I want to be in shape.
I know. Absolutely you do. You want him to be in shape. A couple of things. Obviously, we also have to talk about the defense. Wow, what a job by that defense. I think Stony Point had, around 25 yards at halftime. And it was one of those, you go into halftime, you're like, this score ought to be a little bit more separation than what it is, just based on, the domination of the defense and, how the offense had moved the ball. And one of the things, and I'm going to own this, I brought up last week about how we had done a really good job of staying penalty-free. So it's my fault. All those penalties that happened on Saturday, that's my fault for saying something last Monday night, right?
Crazy.
Now, we had some killer penalties, very crucial ones that, it's one thing to get a holding penalty or, here and there, but those were happening at really critical times and probably kept that game a whole lot closer than it should have been.
It did. And one of them was mine. I was trying to help out one of our guys with a signal that he didn't get correctly when we got it in at 14 or 15 seconds on the clock, which is plenty of time. But working to help him took my play clock, and we missed that one, and that may have cost us 4 points. So I even have to own some of that. That's not all the players on that. But, we would have loved to have had at least 10 points, if not 14 more points in that first half. But, that being said, it wasn't like we were down at the 15 and not getting points. We were moving the ball.
Absolutely.
And things were good. We would have liked to have pinned them a little closer to the goal line on the one time we chose to try and pin them when it was, more than 4th and 10. It wasn't a field goal situation. It wasn't a 7-yard first down try. It was 13 or 14 yards. But I think red zone wise, I think we're 100%. We're 4 for 4 when we got inside that 20.
Yeah, it was just that a few of those drives we were moving, and then there goes the penalty to move us back from instead of being like 2nd and 7, now it's 2nd and 17, or we had that one.
And then the sack, and then the snap over the punter's head.
Yeah, what was that drive? What would we end up? Fourth and a lot on that drive. But
you're right.
Nonetheless, defense was spectacular. Lights out. I think what did Stony Point finish with? About 100 total yards offense for the game.
Yeah, and their 3rd down and 4th down conversions were way below that 30% mark where you want to be. Ours were sitting at 41 or 42%. So when you widen those big downs, the gap is bigger like that. That tells you your defense is doing a really good job. But what was it, 14 tackles for losses? A
lot, yeah.
Brody had 3 or 4, 2 over here, 3 or 4 by, Sugg as well. You throw a couple sacks in there, and anytime you stretch the chains out like that, that certainly gives a big boost to the defense.
There was one play that their quarterback, I got scared because he was about to be the meat of the Braylon Sugg, Landon Watson sandwich. It's like, I don't think anybody wants to be part of that sandwich.
That's right.
Yeah, that was.
They're relentless. I'm telling you, they can get there in a hurry. When you're watching it, it feels like it's normal timing.
Right.
But if you watch it on tape and grab a stop, it's 2.7 seconds. Well, they're not going to get the ball out that hurry except on quick games. So as far as taking care of your safeties and corners on the deep routes and the options that offensive coordinator has to throw, thinking that he's going to have enough time, that's a big deal.
There was another thing that I noticed in the game, and you might talk about this, but you've I don't know if this was just for last Saturday, but it looks like a new punter, Evan Gutierrez, is now punting. Or was that an experiment on Saturday?
No, we've got 3 different guys we've worked in practice, and 3 or 4 that have worked long snapping. So it's the kind of the merry-go-round. The other part of it is we're still building depth. We had moved a couple guys up from JV for special teams who have certainly earned it and practiced well and done a good job in the JV games and worked on that. But kind of the same thing with Brody. If he's our starting punter, do we put him at starting quarterback and the starting mic? And he's on, PAT and field goal and all that. It's just, okay, what can our players handle before they're handling this really well, but it hurts them in another area? Well, if we have other kids that are capable, let's get them in there and keep other guys fresh for those 4 quarters of play.
Well, and I'm a couple of those bobbled snaps or whatever on the PATs. I'm convinced Zane does that on purpose so he can try to get in the book for throwing a.
He got a taste for the throw-in last week.
2-point conversion or something, right?
Well, everybody's trying out for quarterback, huh, Zane?
I played freshman year, Coach.
You know what? You did.
I have a feeling
you
could put him anywhere, and he probably would. He would excel. We say, I think every game we say, give us a team of Zane Boldings. Or give you a team of Zane Boldings, and you're probably going to go to the state championship.
Probably right.
Yeah, we might not.
Maybe not state championship, but
he might.
It'd be fun.
Let's try it.
Yeah, it'd be fun to have a team.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to know Zane just a little bit. So, Zane, senior linebacker, obviously, we call his name so many times during a game, and he's just that guy who seems to have a nose for the ball, right? I mean, no matter what, we're like. And then on the tackle, that's Zane Bolding again, right? So
we're going to put it on a loop.
Yeah, just
so we don't have to say
Zane Bolding again. Zane Bolding again. No, it's how fun is it to coach a guy like that?
Well, he's a do-right guy. He's there early in the morning, good mood, gets the guys in his far right corner of the locker room ready to go for practice. And that's probably the best thing about him. You get out of practice what he's going to bring in the game. Is there special teams in the past 2 years that you have not been on?
No, don't think so.
So it's not just, hey, I'm an inside backer. I'm just an outside backer. He's, he can block, he can cover, he can tackle. You can put him at tight end. You can put him at fullback. I think he's our leading yard per carry average.
14.7, pretty sure.
That's right, because you had that one long run last year. That's right. Forgot about that. And you got tackled like at the 5 or something, right?
At the 2.
Yeah.
At the 2.
It's like you just couldn't quite get
the
in.
kid ran a 4.140 though, so it's okay.
Oh, okay. That's acceptable.
Yeah, that just seemed unfair that you didn't get a score on that one.
Yeah, it was not cool. I was not happy.
Well, talk about, Zane, you're just experienced. Now you're a senior, and, the clock's ticking, and there's only limited number of games left for you as a Hutto Hippo. But how has it been for you to be a Hutto Hippo football player all these years?
Oh, it's been awesome. Best experience of my life so far. I mean, just being with the guys every day, getting to play an awesome sport in an awesome program. It's great.
What is the thing that what drives you? What motivates you to wake up every day and get out there to practice? Is it the camaraderie with your teammates, or is it just the love for football?
I mean, it's both. I mean, mostly the guys. Seeing the guys every day, just great. But I mean, there's guys all over the place, but football's football. I wouldn't be waking up this early if it was soccer. But it's football.
Me either. Yeah.
But it's mostly the guys. They're awesome.
One of the things I think that really distinguishes you, and this is not a knock at all, but certainly your size. You're not the biggest guy out there.
Yeah, it's my dad's fault.
Yeah, well, I know. So all of us are limited.
BCD there.
Yeah. What? How do you make up for that? Right. I mean, everybody, whether they're gifted with giantness or not, they have to find their way to make it all work. What have you done to overcome, and it's not like you're a tiny guy, but what have you done to overcome what typically would be that size factor as a 6A linebacker?
Well, it starts in the weight room, just getting stronger, putting on as much muscle as you can. But then it's also a mentality thing, I got to be tougher and meaner, just more effort than anybody else in the field, and it makes up for it.
So those that know me know I always have to make references to Texas Tech, but one of the best linebackers ever in college football and in the NFL was a guy named Zach Thomas. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Yeah, you're too young. So Zach Thomas, All-American linebacker at Tech, went on, played a great career with the Miami Dolphins. He was actually on the Hall of Fame ballot this past year. But his whole life, like high school, college, then the NFL, they all talked about how undersized. You remember Zach Thomas?
54, right?
Yeah, 54. Talked about how undersized he was. He wasn't the right size for that, but it didn't matter. He played. I'm telling you, you remind me of Zach Thomas the way you play football, and that's a compliment that you don't really understand because you didn't know who Zach Thomas is. But he was a guy that overcame his size to excel and dominate on the football field. And what is it about you, do you think, that just lets you have that nose for the ball? You always know where that ball is, and you're always there.
Well, great coaching. Coach Harvey's taught me well. Coach Mosley years before, taught me how to read. And, the guys in front of me always doing their job, filling their gaps right, make it real easy for me to just see it. And also just natural instincts, just something I can see really well, see the holes open up and just go fill them up,
So talk a little bit about the strangeness of playing your senior year in COVID, in a pandemic. I mean, you'll forever have, then that you'll talk about years from now when you have kids is like, well, I played football when COVID was around.
Mm-hmm.
But the different things that you guys have had to do this year to, wearing masks, staying apart from each other, things that typically you want to be close, and now you're having to stay apart. How hard has that been?
Oh, it's incredibly hard. Having to wear a mask all the time when you're huffing and puffing, that's not fun. Just not being able to get in close and get rowdy like we usually do. In the weight room, got to have it up all the time. Modifying exercises so that you don't have to be super close.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard.
So as you kind of move into the last few games, however many that's going to be of your senior year, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to leave behind for some of these younger guys? What do you want your legacy to be at Hutto?
I mean, I kind of want to be known as the crazy dude, who went balls to the wall all the time, But I mean, but I want to bring guys with me, I don't know who the next, will linebacker is going to be, but I hope we figure it out so I can help them get there, And, I just hope they remember me as a winner, and somebody's just went for it.
Do you want to be remembered for your hair?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. I think they'll always remember your hair and your sunglasses. I thought you'd come out with your sunglasses tonight, too.
Yeah, sun's not shining right now. So
if he would have had a Hutto button-down shirt, it'd be about right there right now, too, with the sunglasses.
Right. Gold chain. Do you wear a chain?
No, I need to get one though, big one.
Yeah, for sure. You need to do that. Talk about your future plans. I know we were talking a little bit before the show, and Coach talked to me a little earlier too. But you're thinking West Point as a possibility, right?
Yes, sir. Just want to go serve my country. Get a great education. And it's not an easy thing to do, and that's kind of why I want to go do it. It's a nice little challenge.
Nice little challenge. Yeah. Is it just as a student, or would you consider potentially trying to play ball at West Point if you're able to get there?
Yeah, I would try to walk on.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good for you. So step us through that process. What is the West Point starts with? I want to go to West Point, but step us through that process of getting there.
So last February is when I was able to open up the application, and so you got to send in your transcripts, write like 3 essays, get 4 evaluations from a math, English, physics, and a physical education teacher, and a few other forms that people just need to fill out for you, and then you need to get a nomination from a congressman. So I had to apply to Cruz, Cornyn, and Carter.
Okay.
And so I have an interview with Carter on Saturday. That's going to be pretty high pressure, but I think I'll do all right. And that's about it. And then it's a waiting game. And I'll know this February.
February is when they let you know whether you got in or not.
Yes, sir.
And what's your backup plan, just in case that didn't work out?
UT.
Okay.
I'm going to try to get the ROTC scholarship. And if I don't get the ROTC scholarship, I'll just have to have a conversation and see if I want to enlist or get a degree first and then go military.
So you're pursuing military no matter what?
Yeah, I want to serve.
Good for you. Man, thank you. This Friday night probably will be kind of special for you then, and obviously this won't be your first one, but the Freedom Game, when we have our veterans and, some of those folks that are there pregame. And I know, we try to, as those guys are walking down the track, I know we try to time that so as y'all are coming off the field, pregame, that you're able to shake those guys' hands and tell them thank you. So, when you see a serviceman or a veteran, that probably means a little bit more to you than maybe some, because that's what you have your eyes on doing, right?
Oh, yeah, and I have 2 uncles. One was in the Navy, one was in the Marines. My aunt was in the Air Force. My grandpa was actually a West Point graduate himself.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and great-grandparents fought in World War II. So, yeah, military's pretty important to me and my family.
That's awesome. Well, I have all the confidence in the world that's going to work out, and you're going to be next year we'll be talking about one of our former Hutto Hippos that's up at West Point. We've had a couple of them. We've had a couple at West Point, a couple in the Naval Academy, and there's just something special about that. So
my only complaint for the process for him to get in was the amount of characters in the box for my recommendation for him.
Yeah,
it didn't allow enough characters.
Yeah, you could only do so much.
But anybody that's live here and listening online, they can tell by you, Zane, how good of a guy you are. Just good, genuine guy. That's a glue guy in that locker room, and you're gonna do the same thing in the military too. So that's awesome, man.
Pretty good in the classroom too, isn't he?
Number 7, is that right in your class?
Sir, yeah.
7 in your senior class?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Good for you. And so a little known, or maybe it's well known among your peers, but probably little known among everybody else, you're a guitar player, right?
Yes, sir. I mean,
obviously.
I mean, it looks like you could step into a rock band today.
I mean, yeah, I probably could. I'm not bad.
What do you what's your favorite kind of music?
I'm a big blues guy, big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, and rock too,
Okay. Well, I know you're, we were talking earlier, and when Zane was like this little, they used to go to our church, and his dad played the guitar at our church too. So I guess, do y'all ever have a little jam session together, you and your dad?
I mean, once in a blue moon. Not very often, because I'll embarrass him, make him feel bad. But
I hope he's watching.
Yeah, I hope he is too.
Yeah. If not, he'll watch the replay.
Yeah.
He might have his guitar ready when you walk in the house, ready for the challenge. Well, we love having you represent Hippo Nation. We love, not just as a football player, but your character, the things you do in the classroom, what you want to pursue after Hutto ISD, and truly, if we could have a team full of Zane Boldings, it would be great. And if we could have a world full of Zane Boldings, it'd be great, wouldn't it? For sure. So good luck with the West Point thing. But, man, go all out the next however many games you've got left your senior year, and thanks for being a Hippo.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
All right. We'll let you step away, and we'll trade places with you and Dr. Robert Sermani, our associate superintendent. He'll come over here, and we'll talk to him just a little bit as he's doing that. Brad, let's talk a little bit about Vista Ridge and what we can look forward to this week. Here we're doing the COVID thing and switching out the little microphone cover because that's what we have to do these days. All right.
2020.
That's right, buddy.
So Vista
There we
Ridge,
go.
5-1 overall, 3-1. They've played a couple more district ball games than us. Their only loss has come to a very good Vandergrift ball club. So pretty balanced team. You know, they're sitting at about 250 yards passing a game, 100 yards rushing, so they can definitely do both.
Right.
They're going to be led by, you know, their offensive coordinator's son is I believe number 12, Kyle Brown. Can throw the ball. He extends plays really well. You're going to think he's wrapped up, and he's going to find a way to get out of there. You know, I think Westwood should have had 9 or 10 sacks.
Really?
And they didn't.
And he
get
squirmed
them.
out of
and
them.
He's just very good. He keeps his eyes downfield. He helps out his offensive line. That's not bad. They're not bad, but, you know, when they turn a guy loose, that doesn't mean that he's done for.
Right.
And he's certainly got, you know, there's 2 or 3 different running backs they shuffle in, and then they've got, you know, a corner, wide receiver, running back, Iman Allen. He's jersey number 1, and he's fast. He's Dejon Harrison or, you know, maybe better fast.
Okay.
You know, he's
like to get him the ball in space.
They do, and they'll, you know, put trips or more to one side and try to get you in one-on-one situations and throw it up and let them go get it. And Kyle's a good enough quarterback to get him that ball too. So they'll go in a diamond shape one way or the other and go solo receiver the other way and just let him go to work. But I think the biggest thing we have to do is if we get an opportunity to get that sack and keep that you know, pocket condensed, we do have to get
pressure.
That sack. We've got to get the sack when it's there because he's gonna scoot. And of course, when they're in spread formations, and they'll go 2 back a little bit, but they'll go, you know, more spread formations. Of course, that means your backers are dropping, and he's good enough to, you know, that 3rd and 7 scoot through, get 11 yards, extend the chains, extend the drive, all that sort of stuff. So he's gonna be the guy we have to stop with his guys around him. And then defensively, you know, they did a little 3-front against Westwood. Of course, Westwood was going empty, but they're predominantly a 4-front, you know, some 4-2-5 and 4-3 principles, whether it's quarters or kind of some catch man, different techniques. And they disguise things well where they, you know, feel like they're looking at the quarterback, and at the snap, they go right back to man coverage. And, you know, for quarterbacks, they've got to be, you know, ready for that. But you know, 4-front means we've got to win the one-on-one battles with our offensive line as we go. And it seems like every week we couldn't find a game that people didn't have 2 freshman teams. They had an over one. Let's go and play it. So it's been fun to get to know them.
Well, I would say I'm probably not exaggerating when I say this will certainly be our toughest test of the year. I mean, obviously Round Rock was a strong test for us, but at least on paper, and what I see,
right.
You guys have seen more film than I have too, but it looks like that's probably going to be our toughest test.
Right.
Up
It's
to this point.
all the matchup. You know, College Station for our defense
Right.
and for our team gave a different matchup than Round Rock did, and this will be a different type of matchup too. So how we line up early and their adjustments both offensively and defensively, and that chess match is going to be, you know, it's going to be big. You know, our coaching staff is going to have to do a good job to put our players in a good position to play well. And our players just, again, they have to come out and do their job and, you know, believe in themselves like we did and have that good fast start. And, you know, tight games like this, the least amount of mistakes, you know, is going to become the victor.
Good news is I don't think we're going to have weather be a factor. Doesn't sound like – I don't think the wind's supposed to be blowing hard. It's not supposed to be cold. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful night for high school football.
We should be right at 50% capacity then. Every ticket should be sold.
Absolutely should, and sold or given away because
True.
You know we have some of our veterans and
Yes,
first
sir.
responders that we're allowing to have some tickets this week too.
Right.
And we'll talk about that at the end about the Freedom Game. But I want to bring in Dr. Sermani. Dr. Sermani is our Associate Superintendent of Instruction and Innovation. That's his newest title that he got. I have to look it up like all the time. I mean, you know.
So do I, Todd.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's Dr. Sermani and I get to serve on the executive leadership team of the district, and I will tell you, in the 3 years, you're now into your 4th year, right?
Yeah, my anniversary here is coming up in a couple days.
Yeah, about to start your 4th year here. And I'll tell you, this guy has become someone I admire and respect so much for so many ways, for so many things and so many reasons. But, man, Hippo Nation is blessed to have Dr. Sermani. And but, Dr. Sermani, I wanted you to be here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit because I said we're not always just talking sports. You know, we want to talk, you know, some academics and things too. But I do want everybody to see he's got his Houston Texans shirt on.
I know I'm a brave man. I know.
Well,
it's been that kind of year.
I don't think anybody that supports an NFL team in Texas has much to say about what's going on this year with either team. So
Yeah.
I would probably choose them over the Cowboys right now. The Cowboys might be the worst Cowboy team I've ever seen.
If
in my
only we
life.
could play each other.
And my youngest son is named Landry after Tom. So, you know, I've been a Cowboy person for my whole life. So, but with that said, with his Houston Texans shirt, little known fact about Zane Boulding was that he's a guitar player. Little known fact about Dr. Sermani, he has a daughter that was a Houston Texans cheerleader.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right. Got the hookup and free tickets for a little while there.
It's like, and when she wasn't a cheerleader anymore, you're like, what's going on? I need my tickets, right? Now, you said you had a funny story to tell about her.
Oh, yeah, I did. So when she was a college cheerleader, a lot of the college cheerleaders all know each other on social media and they connect with the players and all talking with each other. And so one night I'm talking to Gabby, and she gets this phone call, and she goes, hangs up on whoever it was, doesn't answer. And I said, who was that? And he's like, this guy Derek. And I'm like, Dad, Derek who? And she's like, some Derek guy from Alabama. He's playing in a national championship tomorrow or something. I said, Derek Henry? She's like, yeah, that guy. I was like, you need to call him and tell him to go to bed. He's got a game tomorrow morning. But, yeah, she had no idea who she was talking to. Or
it's like the best running back in the NFL
I know, exactly.
She's hanging up on Derek Henry. That's a great story. I love that. I'd be like, no, you need to call him back and talk to him.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you didn't get the phone number to get some tickets there.
Well, my wife and I had a conversation about that afterward. We're like, well, maybe I didn't play that quite right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We've got to figure out a way to get connected with Derek Henry for sure. So, Dr. Sermani, I want you to, obviously this has been a challenging time. We go back to March, go back to spring break, and, when all of us basically gave up our spring break and we're in the office for the whole week just preparing for what school was going to look like in the spring. And obviously we make it through the spring, and then, we move into the fall. But talk a little bit about just how Hutto ISD how we've dealt with COVID. And I know that's kind of a big, wide open question, but man, I am so proud of how we've done it. And it's not perfect, and there is nothing you can do to make it perfect, but your leadership and your team's leadership, what you've done to make it as good as it can be.
Well, and I think the best way to answer that is we do it the way we always do in Hippo Nation, is we try to do it together. And from the get-go with Dr. Thomas's leadership and your help, it's all about reaching out to the community, reaching out to the students, trying to find out where everybody is as far as how they're feeling about it and what they want out of their education system. Because in the end, our school district is there to serve our community and the needs and wants of that community. So a lot of that time was spent actually with you, communicating back and forth, and us kind of figuring out where everybody wanted to be. From there, once there was a plan forming, it's really about the teachers really stepping up and doing what they had to do to help the kids out. And I know there are so many teachers who just wanted to get back to teaching, and there are many who called and told me, says, I've got some medical issues that I got to take care of. I want to be there, and working with them to try to find a way that they can continue to contribute. And I think we've done our best to strike that balance. And I think because of that, I talk to a lot of the surrounding districts, and we're in such a great place compared to a lot of my peers that I talk with in the area. And I'm just so thankful that we started with, who we are. Hippo Nation. We're one community together.
You've been in Austin ISD. You've been in Round Rock ISD. What is it about Hippo Nation to you? You're not, like we said, you're starting your 4th year in Hutto ISD. And what is it about Hutto ISD, Hippo Nation, that's just different from everywhere else?
It's the reason I keep coming back and getting up in the morning. It's I tell people, if you embrace the hippo will embrace you back.
And I like that.
It's a different kind of feel when you come to Hippo Nation and you want to be a part about what Hippo Nation is about. They welcome you, and it's not like in other places I've been where I hate to say it, it's like almost cliquish between different communities, and even to where we're playing schools in the Round Rock, and I spent 10, 11 years Round Rock, loved it, loved the communities, but it was our community, and then there was that other community over there. There wasn't a sense of oneness like you get in Hippo Nation, which I think is just so incredible, and you just don't find in districts this size anymore.
Right. As you kind of look at the future, and certainly right now COVID has created a real hardship for teachers, for finding teachers, keeping teachers, substitutes, things like that. But kind of as you look to the future, what do you see? How do you see education, public education, changing as a result of COVID?
Well, Todd, part of my job is, people don't realize what I do a lot of days, but part of my job is to think in the future, because we don't get to be prepared for the future if we don't start working at it now. So while I want teachers focused on what's in front of them, children, teaching, I've got to be keeping one step ahead and getting us ready. And I think one of the big things I see is suddenly there's this explosion in the use of technology with teachers, with families, with students, and how can we use that to actually make education better, more efficient, all those things in the future. And, a lot of it depends on what the state does and how they do things. But, I can see some kids, not all, some kids continuing virtual learning into the future, and it be more beneficial to them than being in person. There are those kids that thrive in that environment. And if the state lets us, I see no reason why we don't pursue those things. I also see the day when we're almost kind of doing it now, where we're competing actually with other school districts for students. It's not well known, but we have students every week that are knocking on our door, not literally, but virtually knocking on our door saying, hey, we're in another school district. Can we go to your school district as long as we're virtual? And I'm like, sure, why not? Yeah. And in this day and age, we can do that. And so as long as, Hippo Nation is putting out a product that people want, and we have the culture we do, we're going to continue to attract students from other districts. And if we're allowed to be virtual, then why not let them come to Hippo Nation? I think every student is better off for being with us. So
right. I remember you joking. It was a few months. I don't remember if it was in the spring or if it was in August, but you were joking about if there was somebody from California that wanted to do virtual learning, they can be part of Hippo Nation from California.
Yeah. Well, there is one.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah. That's not.
So
a joke.
It wasn't a joke.
That's not. Well, it was, but now it's not anymore. We had a family call us and say, hey, we're thinking about moving to Texas, and we were researching, can we go to school? And I looked it up, and sure enough, the state of Texas will pay for enrolling a student who just says they intend to move to Texas. I was like, okay. Wow. So there is a student in Los Angeles who is in the Western time zone or Pacific time zone, having to get up a little early and go to class. As long as they keep showing up, I'm okay with that.
We need to figure out a way to connect them with Chase Griffin, because Chase is out there at UCLA.
I didn't even think about
as a quarterback. It's like, we got a hippo already living out there playing football at UCLA. You need to let them know, or whoever is their teacher. Somehow we need to get that word.
Yeah, we need to get Chase out there advertising. I'll take a few more students. Why not?
Yeah. We'll follow up on that. That would be kind of fun. Well, one of the things I also want you to just quickly talk about is, you know, in this pandemic, obviously there's been a lot of talk about the social and emotional well-being of students, right? I mean, in the spring, everybody was at home, was virtual learners. We were able to get a good percentage of them back in the fall. In fact, I think we're up to 62 or so percent on campus now. But since this is the coaches show, so let's tie in a little bit of sports here.
Sure.
What do you see the value, at least in something like athletics, that lets these kids, in this pandemic time, have a little bit of a sense of normalcy, which is their, like in this case, it's football.
Sure. I've got 2 children still at home. One's in high school, and sometimes I watch her at home. Took a day off to take care of something at home, and watched her at home. And all day long, sitting in front of a computer, not interacting, you can see on your own child the toll. And I'm not saying all children are like that. Some kids, maybe they're perfectly fine that way. But I could see, my daughter, she doesn't have the interaction. She does the brightness, and she just looks tired. I think so much of our growing up has to do with how we work with other kids and other adults and socialize. And it's not just even the normals. The normalcy is teaching us how to be. And so you talk about our coaches here and how much they work with a young man like we just heard Zane over here, and how much character he has. You don't get that in isolation. That whole adage that it takes a family, a village to raise a child, that's true. And our village is our community, and our community is our schools. And so when you start taking the kids and taking them out of the football team, taking them out of the high school, they miss a lot of them. Not everyone, a lot of them miss some of that community, and they really, really need that community. They need that interaction with positive peers or positive adults. And that's one of the most important things why we do have to keep our schools open as much as possible for those kids to have that interaction. And even us as adults can feel that isolating feeling. I don't know about anybody else, but when we had to all go home and I'm sitting on a computer, it just wasn't the same.
Right.
It begins to drag on you as well. And now just imagine we have the ego and the self-confidence and the life to be able to know that this is going to end someday.
Right.
Kids don't have that. They have a hard time seeing much further in the future.
Yes, sir.
And this just drags
So true.
on way more than us. So, athletics, band, art, any of those organizations, any of those groups where kids can be a part of, it's so important in this time. And even if they can do it from home virtually, I'll take that over nothing for sure.
Yeah.
So important the work that you all do.
Yep.
For sure.
Well, if you don't think that Zane isn't growing us as coaches, right back. And that's what kids do kids need teachers, teachers need kids. We all know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, and again, we are so fortunate to have somebody like Dr. Sermani who just pours his life into students, into education, and making us all better.
Right.
Making our school district better, making our teachers better, and this. You'll probably never have a bigger challenge than what you've had, last spring into this fall, and however much longer it's going to go. So, this guy will be a superintendent sometime soon. Hopefully he'll stay here until Selena retires, and then he'll be the next superintendent of Hippo Nation. So.
One of your biggest ones is, I know you have your early in the week ELT meetings, but then our Thursday cabinet meetings was you and Selena have to stand in front of the group.
Yep.
And answer to grown men and women who don't know what's going on.
Oh, that's
and you're getting mixed messages from Monday to Tuesday to Friday from the TEA and trying to piece it together and lead them. That was a tough deal.
That was exciting. But I will tell you something just related back to sports, though. I often think back to my time in playing sports all the way back to high school and how many lessons I learned. And when you're presented with a challenge, I think back, where did I learn to rise to the challenge?
Right.
I learned it in sports. When the going gets rough, you got to get tougher and bear down to it. And so those are those life lessons we learn, and why sports and all kinds of activities in schools are so important.
Well, we always say it. Sports is a microcosm of society, right? I mean, you learn to win, you learn to lose, you learn to work together, you learn to fail. I mean, it's everything, and it's you learn to take instruction, you learn to be a leader. There's just so much about life that is learned being an athlete, a student athlete, and competing that way. Thanks for joining us tonight. You are
appreciate being here.
Zane's a rock star. Robert's a different kind of rock star. But another little known fact about him, he used to have the Zane Bolding hair.
And I play guitar.
And he plays the guitar.
There you
That's
go.
right.
I've seen some pictures of that hair, I think.
They're out there.
Well, another little known fact, since the football crowd is out here, my senior year at Friendswood High School
that's
was
right.
Steve Van Meter's first year as a head coach, period. So now you know how old I am.
Robert has he's got his high school annuals that have Van's pictures in them that are good bribe material.
If you ever play Weiss High School, I've got a picture we're going to blow up, and that'll distract him for the whole game.
We're definitely going to play him. You and Van have already made that agreement.
It's either going to be district or non-district.
Right.
If we're in the same district, it might be game 3 or 4. If it's non-district, we're going to try to make that a fun home opener.
Well, I got the picture for you. You're going to put those little things where you do the signs on that. You're going to put. I've got the picture with him in his short shorts.
That would be great. One of your offensive boards.
So is that going to go on 685 where the graduation sign was last year, and then we'll bring it down for game time? Then,
That's awesome. That's hilarious. Dr. Shamani, thanks for joining us. We appreciate all that you do for Hippo Nation.
Thank you.
All right, so we will move on to our picks. You guys, y'all made up a little bit of ground this week on me. In fact, Ryan.
A little bit.
Okay, Ryan tied me. We're now tied.
I was wondering.
Brett?
I didn't get any fancy text messages today, so I was wondering.
I didn't start the text messaging last week. That was you, so,
Regarding the picks, sir?
Yeah. I just had to. I had to say I had to talk trash while I could, which was last week, because I think I'm done now. All right, so Ryan is 23-10. I'm 23-10. You're 22-11. Gage is laying back, waiting to make his move at 17-16. I will say, Mr. Ryan went 10-0 this past week.
I went 10-0.
Yeah, you went undefeated.
That's hard to do.
It's the only way that you caught up to me. All right, here's our high school picks. We just pick our district. Most of these I think will be pretty easy this week. Vandergrift at Westwood. I think I can probably put everybody down for a V on that one, correct? Gage, yes. McNeil at Cedar Ridge. Ryan, you have to go first because you're in first.
Cedar Ridge.
Okay.
Same.
Same. Stony Point at Round Rock.
Round Rock.
Same.
Round Rock, sir.
Same. All right. Sorry, Gage. There's no way you can make up any games in that
Sure you
schedule. Well, that's true. You could have been bold. All right. Here's our college games. And remember, we picked these against the spread. West Virginia coming off a big win over Kansas State against UT, coming off a big win off of a big win against Oklahoma State. UT's favored by 7.5.
Where is it?
Ryan,
Where
it's
is
in
it?
Austin.
Oh, man.
We don't have all night.
Longhorns.
Okay.
Hook 'em.
I think West Virginia's going to stay within 7.5. You're going Horns, Gage? West Virginia? Uh-oh. I might want to change my pick. Gage picked West Virginia. All right. I'm kidding. Florida, Georgia. Georgia's favored 4.5, Ryan.
Florida.
Why not have their coach? Did you see that brawl the other night? Woo. That was crazy.
I'm going Bulldogs.
I'll go Uga. All right. A little separation here. Tech at TCU. TCU by 10.5 in Fort Worth.
Tech. Last time I picked them, they won.
Why didn't you pick them this last week then? I think Tech will cover the 10.5.
Frogs. Going for one there.
Okay.
You know I love that coaching staff. It's
I
so
know
hard
you
to
do.
say that. I love
Yeah.
that staff.
Oh, at Tech? Coach Wells? Absolutely.
Very genuine.
They're going to be good. Give him another year. They're going to be all right. Kansas at OU. OU favored by 38.5.
Kansas.
Think they'll cover that?
Sure.
38.5, huh?
That's a lot of
That's a
points.
lot of points.
Well, we didn't cover 38.5.
Yeah, I'll go KU also. Gage.
KU.
Everybody thinks, man. All right. A&M at South Carolina. A&M's favored 7.5.
God, Aggies, I think they're legit.
They seem to be, don't they? Going with them?
Yeah.
They're on the road, favored by 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Aggies.
Just keep waiting for them to stumble. Ooh, South Carolina. Gage, Aggies. Okay. Again, this is a spread. I think A&M will win, but Baylor at Iowa State. Iowa State by 13.5. Bears not looking too good either.
Bears.
Okay. I'll go ISU.
Cyclones.
Okay. And the last one, and this one's going to be interesting. Clemson at Notre Dame, but Clemson playing without Trevor Lawrence again. Clemson's still favored 7.5 points.
Clemson favored by 7.5 at
Yep.
Notre Dame.
Yep, in front of touchdown Jesus.
Give me the Irish.
Okay. I think that Clemson defense is going to shut them down. I'm going Clemson. Plus that quarterback, their backup quarterback's not too bad.
It seems like Notre Dame fumbles a lot of times in these big games. I hate to say that, but going to Clemson.
You're going Clemson? Okay. Notre Dame. All right. There's our picks. It'll be interesting. We might have a big spread next week.
Yeah.
All right. Friday night is Freedom Game. Just a reminder, this is the one where we honor our veterans, first responders, active military folks. You know, we've talked many times and at length about how this community really supports those folks, and something like the Freedom Game. Friday is actually the day that Hutto will be doing its Veterans Day celebration. Next Wednesday, the 11th, is Veterans Day. Unfortunately, one of the things we normally do on Veterans Day is we have assemblies in the gym, and folks can come to the campuses. Veterans can visit. We can't do that this year, but we are still going to have our flyover. So we, every year we do the flyover. Mr. Lister at the high school gets anywhere from 10 to 15 of these vintage World War II planes, and on Friday afternoon about 1:45 or so.
Didn't get to last year, right?
Yeah, it was rained out last year. But yeah, I think the weather's supposed to be good this Friday. So look in the sky, go at that afternoon, and you'll see these vintage World War II airplanes, and they circle the entire district about 3 times. So that's always a cool deal. And then of course, Freedom Game Friday night, and for any of our veterans, first responders, active military folks that are listening online, watching online, or even here, they can call our district office and let us know. We have a limited tickets. We have 100 tickets that are complimentary tickets for those veterans. And again, we can't do it like we normally do. Normally we get complimentary tickets for them and a spouse. We also do generally a free meal for them. COVID has kind of cut back on some of the things we can do. But we are still going to honor them like we always do. And if you're a veteran, first responder, active military, get there by 6 o'clock and meet at that northwest end of the track. And then we always do a little walk down the track and honor all those folks. And then I know Mr. Giss, the band director, band has a little program planned at halftime, but they'll also honor our veterans and first responders. So it's going to be a big night for that, and then obviously it's going to be a big night for football against Vista Ridge. And from this point on, every game's big as you're making that push for one of those playoff spots. And Hippos against Vista Ridge, and look for a good showing by the Hippos Friday night. Right?
Yes, sir. Got great Monday. The plan is good. Guys following right along. So it came out healthy for the most part last week. So it'll be good.
And get your tickets. Obviously, again, that's another thing. We're limited on tickets every week. 50% capacity. We want to sell all those out. I mean, we want to get as many folks in there as we can. We need a good home crowd against Vista Ridge this Friday night.
Yes, sir.
And then we will be back here next Monday night at 6 o'clock at Rio Grande to talk about it, the Coaches Show. So join us Friday night. Be at the game if you can. If you can't, you can watch it on the same link that you're watching the Coaches Show right now. And then we'll come talk about it next Monday night at Rio Grande on the Coaches Show. For Ryan, for Coach LaPlante, for Zane Bolding, who was here, for Dr. Sermani, for Gage Bowles doing the engineering, I'm Todd Robinson. Have a great week, and we will see you Friday night at Hutto Memorial Stadium.